Now, we're getting closer and closer to October 2027, and we're meant to have done all of the work internally before the end of 2026. So before testing starts in February 2027. So thinking about this short time frame, where should firms be focusing their efforts from a market best practices standpoint and standards practices standpoint, do you think? Dana, I'll start with you.
Well, I will reiterate what I said. I think, focus on or investigate, if you don't have the tools in-house, what already exists, and be as close as possible to the standards that are out there and reuse them, whether it is, structured messages or common identifiers and solutions that then would give you that life cycle insight. I think that's really key in this T+1 space. I don't think firms have the time to reinvent solutions. So I think communication and reaching out to counterparts is quite important. It was said in multiple of the T+1 webinars and platforms, there is automation, but the deadline is close and you start to do your work now. I think even though there is going to be community testing a bit later on, I think my recommendation would be already start with your counterparties, because your efficiency is going to be only as strong as your weakest link. And we discussed about some of the challenges that sit in that chain. So that would be sort of my recommendation for the months to come.
Sure. Get started testing with your counterparties as soon as possible. For sure. MJ?
Yeah, kind of a similar theme. I think you should look at some of the recommendations that are coming out. Some of the deadlines are this year. So the confirmation allocation process, needs to be T0. I think it's December 7th for the EU 2026 and 31st December for UK transactions. So there are, and I think some firms and institutions haven't, really embraced the fact that some of these recommendations go live this year. I think, again, focusing on Leah's point on the metrics, I think internal metrics, external metrics, hugely beneficial because it allows you to then identify counterparty behavior. Certain counterparties that do things at a certain time of the day versus some that leave it till the end of the day and so on. And I also think a lot of these tools are readily available. So people should really embrace and understand what is available to them, whether that's, internally, externally through their service providers. And the last thing I'll kind of leave is those firms that do rely on third-party vendors, solutions, institutions and so on to perform a lot of their post-trade processes for them, understand where these vendors are in their T1 journey as well. Are they ready to test? Can they perform certain things due to deadlines that are upcoming? Really understand what your providers are providing to you, and more importantly, what they have not yet understood around the whole T1 journey as well. So again, that the whole involvement of what they're doing, the combination of collaborations with them, understanding that journey as well is going to be really, really crucial. So understand exactly what's going on internally for you, as well as what the industry is doing externally.
Sure, a bit of T+1 due diligence, that sounds like. Leah, last but not least.
So from my perspective, I think very much in line with what everyone else is saying here is communicating, right? Communicating with all the parties out there, making sure that it's crystal clear what's happening, perhaps even going through some of the metrics in certain instances. For example, with our front offices, we often communicate with them. And a lot of people see T+1 as an operational thing. It's an operational problem. When you start speaking to traders and portfolio managers, they'll come back with many different aspects to it. And I think having those conversations and understanding, do you have to reach out to a transfer agency and maybe renegotiate an SLA with them on the timeline that you need for something to be communicated so that the investment management side can do work within the timelines. So yeah, communication and reaching out and making sure everyone is crystal clear of what's coming up.
It's not just a middle and back office problem, it is also a front office problem. They have to understand that. That's a very good point to highlight, I think.